Today, we're getting under the hood of women's health with Cate, the founder and CEO of Luminary, a global professional education and networking platform created to uplift, upskill, and propel women and allies through all phases of their professional journey. Cate will get under the hood of breast cancer.
My first reaction when I got the call from my radiologist was, this is so inconvenient, which maybe is the right reaction. I don't know. But as busy as we are, that inconvenience always sort of creeps into my brain. The second was disbelief, because no one in my family has had breast cancer that I know of. And you kind of go through these routine mammograms because it's what we do, not thinking that you're ever going to get bad news. It's just part of the process as a woman. And yet here I was getting that bad news. Again, I think this is really inconvenient. I run a business. I have so much on my plate. Now, what does this mean? It also made me beat myself up a little bit, because I found out about my diagnosis in 2022. And I had not had a mammogram in 2 years. It was COVID time. It was an easy excuse not to go to the doctor. And although my oncologists and my gynecologists and my radiologists all said it was not because of that you waited, I still beat myself up about it. The second was definitely fear of, what does this mean for me, and what is this going to look like? And then third was, I got to call my mom. The biggest challenge outside of time and figuring, I mean, one, you've got a heck of a lot of doctor's appointments even before you get to the point of, for me, surgery, identifying the right doctors, talking to the right doctors, and then evaluating what makes sense for you, the when. I was fortunate being here in New York City. I have access, and I have the privilege to have access to so much good medical care. But just making that decision and then being able to, when do I get in for surgery? What does that look like? Who's going to help me? And so that was sort of that initial part. And then following the surgery, what is that going to look like for me? What kind of treatment? What kind of medication? And what is that going to do to me and my life? And so I am a problem solver. So as soon as there's a problem, it's like, what is the plan? And I fortunately had an amazing breast surgeon, again, amazing gynecologist, and then subsequently oncologists that are the same. And so it was, what is the plan? Let's not think ahead of the plan. Let's think about the next step on the plan, do it, and then we'll talk about the next step. And that's really how I've sort of approached the whole thing with regards to my health since the diagnosis. Support system, one, I mentioned my mom. My mom is an incredible support for me, and she's someone that I talk to almost every single day. If I don't talk to her verbally, it's on text. So she is also a problem solver, but she has tremendous faith. And so her being my support system, and then she has her own support system, my godmother, her best friend, my aunts that all are praying. That was even if it wasn't directly, that was a support system that was around me. My partner, he is incredible. It was, we're going to get through this, and we're going to take it every step of the way. And then I am not a talker about myself. I am a listener. I'm everyone else's problem solver. In fact, I have friends that are like, please just tell me what's going on with you, because you're always there. I'm always asking about others, and that's just my nature. So I had a very small group of, I'll say, friends that I would confide in, because it was diagnosed early. So it was absolutely treatable. And there are so many people much, much worse, but you still need people to talk to. And so my mom and my partner, he's amazing. Those were the sort of core people. And then I had some of my friends that were in my network that would just say, hey, if you feel like venting, Great. My former COO at Luminary, and also she's also now our general counsel and a great friend. She was with me the day that I got the diagnosis. I was at Luminary. And so after I finished a 400-person Zoom, 3 minutes after I got the diagnosis, she was like, "You're going home and I'm walking you home because you've got to process this." And so she was a rock for me and continues to be throughout the whole journey. In fact, when I subsequently had my hysterectomy earlier this year, she was the person that I allowed, and I'm using air quotes, to come and visit me during recovery. She was actually the only person outside of like my parents and my partner to visit, because she's just been a great rock for me. So one of the things early on that sort of, particularly my breast surgeon, who is just amazing, Dr. Elizabeth Fort, she said to me, "Don't Google anything. Don't go on WebMD. Don't go down the rabbit hole. Listen to your doctor." And so I did. I have barely Googled anything, maybe more of the symptoms and side effects of medication and treatment. But other than that, I've sort of say, listen to my doctor. They are the smartest people. And so they know what they're doing, and you trust them for that. So that's sort of, one of the things that I didn't do, which helped me through, was just sitting in Google and sort of, what's the worst case? You never go to the worst case, because don't deal with the worst case until you get to the worst case. I think the other thing was, because I have my company to run, it allowed me to sort of compartmentalize, right? I could focus on what I needed to get done, and it didn't allow me to sort of think about the bads and what I'm going to have to go through. I think the challenge for me has been, because of, in particular, the tamoxifen, which has caused me a lot of problems, is being able to communicate when I do need support or I do need help because I don't feel good, or I'm having, again, side effects from it. So for me, it's being able to ask for help. I would say before all of this happened, I definitely didn't ask for help. This has forced me in a very positive way to ask for help more. I don't have good balance. I've never been a fan of that word, because I think it's different for everyone. My team knows that, my family knows that, and I just don't have that. What it has, rather than the word balance, it's prioritization and being present. So one of the things that I started doing was making sure that I didn't open my computer on a Saturday, right? I can I can open it on a Sunday if I want, but Saturday I need to be present in whatever I'm doing. And usually it's not until Sunday night. And also, nobody is going to check their email and respond to you on a Saturday and Sunday. So if you're doing your emails, that doesn't make any sense. Two was also really just taking a step back and thinking about, what do I want for my future? And where do I want to spend my time, or the majority of my time, and how I'm thinking about that. I'm not there yet around what that looks like, but it definitely put into perspective, what are the priorities in my life? Where do I get joy, and how do I do more of that to bring me more joy? So I was diagnosed in, I think it's April, May of 2022. I had surgery very quickly, again, because I have access here in New York. But once I started on the tamoxifen, one of the things that you don't realize is all of the side effects that a medicine like a tamoxifen can have. And for women in particular, it can increase risks for other reproductive cancer. So uterine cancer, ovarian, cervical. And so I, as soon as within a few months of going on the tamoxifen, I started experiencing a lot of other side effects. One of those being very heavy bleeding, polyps, fibroids, which I had never had. And I had to have multiple surgeries to remove those. And because I'm considered higher risk now, and because I'm staying on the tamoxifen, once we got to sort of, let's call it November of 23, my gynecologist said, I think that this is just increasing the risk too much for you. And after talking to my oncologist, it was the same. And the recommendation was to have a hysterectomy. And so needed to sit with that for a moment because the recovery for that is 6 to 8 weeks. And I remember hearing that and sort of laughing and saying, are you kidding me? 6 to 8 weeks. Again, how inconvenient. But I knew that I had to prioritize that because I couldn't, it was not an option to not have a hysterectomy. And so did that in January of 2024. When I started talking about that, it was amazing to me how many people said, oh, I know someone who had a hysterectomy. Let me put you in touch with them. And there's a woman named Bella who she's a friend, and she's a friend of a friend. That's how I know her. She called me and said, here's a list of everything you need to know. Here's all the products that I got. Here's what you can expect. I'm like, oh, your doctor doesn't give you that. And now anytime someone that I know, if I hear is having a hysterectomy, even if they are not even, I don't know them, but someone mentions it, I'm like, oh, I have a list. So I think what has happened for me, both with the breast cancer and with the hysterectomy, has also been the more we share, the more we impact positively. And we know this, but you're so sort of like, I don't want to share, and I feel awkward sharing. I don't want to be pitied. That's really important to share because as my breast surgeon told me when I asked her to speak at Luminary, she said, Cate, with all due respect, no one listens to doctors. They listen to their friends, they listen to their sisters, they listen to others in their networks. So you need to be talking about getting a mammogram, getting your pap smear, all of the things. Your doctor, just like you, didn't do it for 2 years, despite your doctor reminding you. Just share, and you never know what could come of that. I would say it was a preventative due to complications, right? And so, but that also added complications because I didn't realize in 36 hours of losing my everything down there, I was going to go right into a menopause, right? And so that's really fun. And also emotional. I don't have children. I'm not able to have children. And so I had to grieve the loss of something that was put in my body that I could never really use for what it was meant for. And emotionally, because I did not have a mastectomy, I didn't lose my breast, but I lost all of my reproductive organs in the hysterectomy. I did not realize that I needed to grieve that, what makes me a woman. And that hit me hard. So I would say you have to process it. Also, don't go down the rabbit hole because that can destroy you, right? Emotionally. Understand in your network who are the people that you can really lean on and then lean into for support. If you work for an organization, oftentimes we don't want to share, but I think it's important that you do share. You need to understand what your company's benefits are. And there are a lot of benefits out there that most companies have. So understand that. I think two is understanding your healthcare benefits, because there's a lot that you don't expect and you don't plan for, which sounds pretty sort of boring, but it's a big thing because it's an added stressor and you're already stressed because you've been diagnosed with something. And then third, I would just say, again, take it one day at a time and build out your plan. The right doctor, the right support network, who's going to come to the hospital with you, who's going to sit with you. And you may also ultimately, if you don't already have a therapist, someone that's unbiased, that doesn't know you, that you can just talk directly to. So there's an organization called ABCD. It's After Breast Cancer Diagnosis. It's a nonprofit. The executive director, I believe, is out in, I'm probably wrong, Milwaukee or Minneapolis. Forgive me if I can't remember where. But anyway, it's a national organization. I got introduced to them pretty quickly. And so they have mentors that you can talk to on the phone, you can get on a Zoom, and they will find someone that mirrors sort of what you've gone through or what you're going through. So that was very helpful. Again, I'm not a big sharer, but just being able to listen to someone, that was big for me. I think the other is being prepared that everyone's body is different. They're going to react to medications and treatments differently. My experience, as an example, with tamoxifen is not going to look the same as someone else's. But the more I share about it, the more tips that, oh, maybe that can work for me if it worked for you. And really understanding what treatments and medications are available to you and doing your research. The one thing that I would just say, sorry, this is because it is such a personal experience, and I've had to tell people this because I share, but I don't share a ton, is when you open yourself to share, right? Don't automatically think you have the answer for someone. And I went through this when I couldn't have children. Everyone had an answer, right? Well, you should do this. So remember that you can offer those up. And this is for the people that are trying to be a support, but you're ultimately not going to have probably in that moment the right answer. You might, but just give that person time to process and digest, because that person, me as an example, is taking in so much that it gets overwhelming. Because it doesn't run, if it doesn't run in your family, don't automatically think that that's a free pass. It's not a get out of jail free card. You still need to prioritize your mammogram. I really go on and on this because I know a lot of friends of mine, they're like, I don't need one. It's like, you need to get one. If your doctor is recommending you get one, get one. So I think the mammogram piece and breast ultrasound is also important. Some people will get things picked up by a mammogram, some by a breast ultrasound, vice versa. So for me, mine would not have gotten picked up by a breast ultrasound. It was only through the mammogram. So talk to your doctor, what's right for you and your breasts. And also, if you feel something, say something. I think, I would never have found mine, but I know people that say, well, I kind of feel something. It's like, okay, overreact. Who cares? This is your health, and you don't know what's going on with your body. You may be asymptomatic, but talk to your doctors. And I think the other thing is when you, and if you are diagnosed, I'm getting a little bit of emotional, but someone shared this with me because I was early stage and it was detected and I got immediate. I automatically felt like I shouldn't share because there were other people that it was way worse than me, my aunt included. And what this person said to me was, it doesn't matter if yours is worse or better, or you're in a different stage. It's still affecting you. It's still a part of you. It's still something you have to go through. And you're not comparing yourself to someone else. That's actually what I was doing. So everyone's journey is different. So I think, forget the ego and share, share as openly as you feel comfortable doing. Yeah, the only thing that I would share is, and I think, again, as a problem solver and someone who loves to check in on people and the listener, is not everybody wants to talk. So even just if someone's going through it, they may not want to talk about it, and that is okay, and that's their right. But it doesn't mean you can't just say, "Hey, no need to respond. Just thinking of you." So you don't need a response. So many people, hey, how are you doing? Let me know. Can you tell me how? No. I don't want to talk about it. But if I could just know that you're thinking of me, that's amazing. And in fact, when I did my hysterectomy, Elizabeth, it was because I was home, the amount of people, especially members of Luminary, that were emailing our front desk saying, hey, could I have Cate's address? I'd like to send her something. I'd love to send her a note. And which was wonderful. But The other thing that I just got was, hey, I just want you to no need to think of me. No need to respond. I just want you to know I'm here. And I all I had to do was just heart that, right? Versus writing a whole thing about how I'm feeling, what's going on. And I think that's a big thing because not everybody wants to share everything about their journey. I am that person. So, but just knowing that people were thinking of me made all the difference in the world.